Welcome to Under the Radar, where we get a bird's-eye view of the contemporary West. I'm Kirk Powell. Ideology versus experience. Actually, this is a topic suggested by a viewer, and I liked it so much I'm splitting it into 2 episodes. This week we're looking at it from an ethical standpoint, that is, moral ideology versus behavior. It's no great surprise if our ideals do not line up with reality. Like archers, we are always aiming a little higher than the target. Moral ideology is no exception to this. We set our standards high, at least so far as we are discussing them. What happens when we measure our own conduct against our ideals? How important is it that they coincide? Western civilization has answered that question differently at different times, and how we answer it now says a good deal about us. Today, discord between moral ideology and personal behavior can shatter the public image of people who claim to be moral teachers, but other public figures seem to survive moral failures with their image intact. Evidently, contemporary Westerners do not see much harm in a person's behavior falling short of moral ideals. We do not attach their credibility to their integrity. In fact, certain sorts of public figures we outright expect to be at least a little morally aberrant. How did we get to this point? In the very early days of Western civilization, the contemplation of morality was generally linked to a lifestyle of morality. That is to say, early philosophers investigated into the best way to live in order to implement it, or at least to attempt to, and the success of their ideology was measured by the morality of their lifestyle. Fast forward a few centuries toward the end of the Roman Empire, and the bond between moral ideology and moral behavior is somewhat weakened. Schools and branches of philosophy had multiplied, and some held ideology that was quite abstract, while others still pursued a more concrete system focused on moral living. That trend toward abstraction continued, and the scholasticism of the Middle Ages was the study of and commenting upon texts for their own sake. Contemporary philosophy has gone further still into abstraction. Studies today lean heavily toward epistemology and formal logic, subjects that are useful in their own way, but are not much use in practical living. This trend of abstraction in ideology and its separation from behavior has been accompanied by abstraction in other areas of Western culture. Today, our conception of personal credibility has virtually nothing to do with an upright lifestyle. It has everything to do with impersonal factors like credentials, licenses, and degrees. The West has been moving, over the course of several centuries, away from the personal and toward the impersonal, in the way we are governed, the way we receive services, and the way we promote ourselves as individuals. This trend toward abstract and impersonal standards goes some way to explaining the phenomenon I spoke of at the beginning of this episode, that moral failures devastate moral teachers, but not other public figures. We perceive the moral teacher's moral failure not as a personal fault, but as a technical one. Almost as though we saw a mechanic broken down and helpless at the side of the road, we might resolve, as we drove by, never to visit his shop again. Other public figures whose technical expertise is not in morality are excused by us if they experience moral problems. Whether the separation of public credibility and private morality is beneficial, I leave to you to discuss. Next week, we continue our discussion of ideology versus experience by examining how the contemporary West sees ideological influence upon experience, what we have given the dark name of bias. Thanks for watching.